took over the village of Dare Yassin.
Yeah.
And murdered all the people.
Yeah.
The children in cold blood.
Yeah. Well, that's something. And what we're talking about is hidden history. Now, what we've got here is about 30 people, aren't we? Yeah. And what we are is in computer terms, we're an expert group, aren't we? You've got a different life experience too, and so on. If we were able to share them, we'd probably know quite a lot, wouldn't we? Yeah. And of course, we're in the age of the internet, aren't we? So have you got a discussion group or a bulletin board or whatever? Easily done. I'll show you how. And this is the tool. Looking on the bright side. The powers that be have concealed this secret history for many years, haven't you? Because we've all learned something different today, haven't we? This gentleman's told me stuff, and vice versa. And it's putting in our picture of what we're up against, isn't it? And of course, once we're fully awake, then it's a problem to them, isn't it? Because they can't hide, they can't make excuses. So what I suggest is that you circulate this video, and we exchange email addresses, and if anyone wants to ask me questions, I can point them to the references and authorities, and you can shoot me down if I'm wrong, and if you agree, then you share it with your group. Because ideas spread like this. There's a theory about the spread of ideas. If you come up with a new idea that's a problem to the powers that be, or the established order, first it's ignored, then it's ridiculed, then it's violently resisted, then you win. That was Gandhi. You heard that one, haven't you? Yeah. So we're at the violent resisting stage, aren't we? Except they're violently resisting. So the next stage we win. And the idea about the spread of ideas is, if you're worried about what you see around you, the first people you'll talk to will be your trusted friends, because they won't drop you in it, and they won't take the mickey too much, will they?
And they won't take any action because they can't be bothered.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. There is an explanation for that. So if you convince your trusted friends, they may well spread it to their circle. Now, gentlemen shaking head, we've got armed forces experience. The army is established over many years. Only one man in 20 is a leader, haven't they? And it's a sliding scale, and you have leaders of leaders. So you really only need to convince that 1 in 20, I would argue. If you can find them and convince them that something needs to be done, that's the figure. Now, a test case, not easier said than done. A test case, or an example of that is the American Revolution against the British. At any one time, no more than 3% of the American population were actively resisting the British, no more than 3%. There were various camp followers, and people will give money, and people will give lip service, and so on. So there's a test. So we've only got to raise perhaps 3% of the population to resist.
So as now, it was a small minority directing the whole affair.
Yeah, that's right.
The New World Order.
Have you heard the psychopaths rule the world theory?
In shadow. Or in the opposite.
The psychopaths rule the world theory. Again, you can research it. Brian Gerrish is an exponent of this. This is where I got it from. It's reckoned that 6% of the population are psychopaths. It's a sliding scale. Mr. John Hurst, who's been going on for votes for criminals, is the axe murderer end. He couldn't help himself. He killed somebody. He's done his time in prison. That's one end of the scale. And there are other psychopaths, and they tend to be businessmen and politicians and generals. Yeah, that's right. Yes. Okay. And the reason for it is, the gentleman at the back says civilization developed about 13,000 years ago in Mesopotamia, didn't it? Roughly. Ice ages. Up until that, disregarding theories about Atlantis and sunspots wiping life out from time to time. Well, as far as we know, civilization started about 13,000 years ago. It's when we went from being hunter-gatherer to farmer. If you're king of a bunch of hunter-gatherers, there's really no advantage, because even the king, even the staff that you have to carry around is a bit heavy, isn't it? You don't have property. So there's no advantage. If, however, you live in an agricultural society, there's a surplus of goods and there's a division of labour, and it becomes worthwhile being a king. Now, in a hierarchy, being ruthless is a selective advantage. And psychopaths have this characteristic. They know they're different. They try and keep that secret. And what they do is they imitate normal behaviour. They observe normal human behaviour, they imitate it. But they're socially inept and they get it wrong. Mr. Brown springs to mind. Yeah. And they also have the ability to recognise each other. So they surround themselves by other people from the 6%. So kingship evolves 13,000 years ago, and that's the origin of these bloodlines that David Icke goes on about, isn't it? And of course they're into horse breeding, and it means they're into human breeding as well. They're into bloodlines, and they're into occult practices. It's like Satanism. If they believe in it and they act on it, it's a problem, isn't it? Even if it is nonsense. So that's the explanation of what we see around us. We see a small group of bloodlines, the Merovingians and the English royal family running the show. Now, it's like any theory. What you do is you take it on board, and if it works for you and it integrates with what you know already, then it's a good theory. If you can disprove it, it's a bad theory, and then you can argue with those who think it's good. So go away and do your research on psychopaths rule the world. And I think I'm convinced, put it that way, that explains behaviour. An example of military hierarchy, the First World War generals who sent huge numbers of soldiers out to be killed and didn't care, there's got to be something wrong with them, hasn't there?
Yes.
Yeah.
After you send the first line and you see them being rained down, you don't try twice again to do exactly
well,
the same.
they were cute, you see. I was a junior officer. I had words with senior officers. At Staff College, they talk about the first day on the Somme.
Yes, very much so.
Now, the first day on the Somme, they were a bit cute because they had a few years' experience. And they knew it was going to take several days to get all the troops they had and feed them towards the German guns. Now, the first wave of troops go in, and then some are killed outright, some are wounded. So they're lying in no man's land crying for mother. Typically, that's what men do, cry for mother. And of course, that was unsettling to the troops behind. So they had a system of keeping the reserves out of earshot of the battlefield, and they had zigzag trains to rush them up quickly. So it's all done deliberately, and it was taught as combat psychology for senior officers in the armed forces, because you've got to be a bit ruthless, haven't you, in order to do that job.
There's a programme on Sunday about these trenches, because they were showing some original photographs that they found from the aerial photography.
Yes, well that's the reason. You have a support trench, and the distance is judged to be out of earshot of the wounded.
What about the barons? These 25.
Right, now the barons. Okay, what I'm going to do is give you my skeleton argument. I was going to read it out, but I can't help talking, I'm sorry. You can read it online. So I've got a skeleton argument. When you have a court case, you have to justify what you're arguing. It's called a skeleton argument. And you have two things. You have authorities and references. An authority will be an Act of Parliament. And there's an Act of Parliament, for example, that says Magna Carta is the common law. It is the common law, and there's an Act of Parliament that says it's the common law. There's an Act called the Petition of Right, which says no taxation without common consent of Parliament. That's right. Because the Barons Committee decided that the Parliament's out of order, then there's no common consent. And it's another grounds for Mr. Thomas and the Council not pestering me with these tax demands. I must say, I will pay it in future, because we've got to pay for the roads and sewers and what have you. I won't pay it for the EU, so I reckon it's about a quarter goes to the EU. I'm just withholding. And the concept is called immersement, and it means you're not distraining. Distraining, it means you're holding back the profit of land, and that was one of the penalties. The other option is you're allowed to seize castles and buildings belonging to the crown. A bit tricky unless you've got an army and a load of ladders. However, you can have a commercial lien on a building. We'd established that the court in London is owned by the police. So I'm going to hit them with a commercial lien saying, "I'm sorry, it's mine. You can't use it. It's corrupt."
That works for me.
Yeah.
I've got an issue with my bank, stealing my bank charges.
Yep.
They've ignored all of my claims of right and so forth.
Yep.
So if I just get a notice to quit and put it on their
Yep.
front door down and that works.
That's right. Yeah. One of the issues for them is insurance, and it's if you get a county court judgment against you, you can't trade. So what you're doing with a commercial lease, you're threatening a county court order. Now, it will create a problem for the county courts, because if you or I don't pay a bill, first we get the threatening letter saying cough up in a month, then we get the final demand, cough up in 7 days, and if we don't, the person who sends them out just goes to the court and says it's out of order. Well, we're doing exactly the same thing, aren't we? Except we're not asking for money, we're asking for justice. Because,
but here's the question. You go to court with the arguments.
Yeah.
It's debatable if they're going to go along with this.
Well, it's like anything else. You've heard the phrase, "Why does treason never prosper?" You've heard that one?
Yes. Yeah.
It's because none dare call it treason. But there'll come a tipping point, where the people on the other side will say, things are getting a bit hot around here. I may have to justify my actions. And that's what we're working on. So
that's what we think is happening in that court case.
Yeah, we may have to justify our actions.
Because the judge, the last judge, we got the feeling that that's what he was considering.
That's right, yeah.
We have to justify our actions.
No, they.
Yeah,
and the reason for that is that in a common law jurisdiction, there's the presumption of innocence. You can do what